Moved back to a place for the first time in my life recently. Never before have I lived somewhere, left, and then come back. Even when I moved home while I was sick, I wasn't really moving home. Different house in a different town. Sure, I was near the town I grew up in, but still not home. This place isn't quite the same as the old one. New area in the city, different and higher quality apartment. Not just above ground, but many floors up. In many ways, the city is still the same as the one I left all those years ago. And in many ways it's not. Navigation of the flow of time can get confusing. I don't know where the cool bars are anymore, and yet all the old staples are still here. I know people here. A lot of people even, but we aren't a single group of friends anymore. I guess that's what happens over time. People come and go. I did. I'm currently reading Dogs of Summer by Andrea Abreu, a Spanish author from the Canary Islands. And I'm about halfway through it. Really enjoying it so far. It's got a very kind of distinct form of prose, a voice that adds a kind of sense of something that is like a boredom psychosis, something like that. Something that really encapsulates the kind of feeling of being young and bored. Just really, really fucking bored. So far, I'm about halfway through again. It has a pretty loose plot, and it feels more like you're kind of checking in with these different little moments in the lives of these two young girls who are, becoming adolescents. It's originally in Spanish, and it feels like the actor translation would have been incredibly difficult for this book, and this is just conjecture, but it feels like it was probably written in a very specific and colloquial language, and translating that into English would have been very hard. It also somehow manages to maintain the fact that one of the characters regularly uses English words and still feel like those English words are being spoken like casually by a non-English speaker. It's really incredible. Like there's one example where in the text the protagonist refers to a BMW, but instead of it being written out BMW like the car brand, it's spelt out BMW. It doesn't translate very well to a spoken medium, but it's very effective in the text. Yeah, it's incredible how the sense of speaking English words can be so clearly translated to English. The book has a lot of really interesting little sections. Like there's one chapter that's one singular run-on sentence that has no capitalizations, no breaks at all. It is thankfully only a few pages long, but it's just long enough for you to kind of get sucked into it, to get used to the way that those words are flowing, and kind of rewire the way your brain processes language to understand what's going on, even if a lot of the things that are happening are kind of disjointed and almost nonsensical. It really gives the sense of just being so fucking bored in the country. Something I have experience with growing up in rural Ontario. It's like that sometimes. You just get so bored. It's incredible. I'm excited to see where it goes, if it really goes anywhere. The novel's Spanish name is Panza de Burro, which a literal translation would be donkey's belly. It refers to a kind of common Canary Island way of describing the clouds around the volcano. Darker at the top that get lighter further down, I would assume. For it to have been translated into Dog Days of Summer, it makes me think that it also carries the meaning of a certain slowness of time. The Dog Days of Summer are a kind of mental construct, a cultural touchstone for kind of the hottest and most humid and kind of longest days of the summer. These days are often associated with thunderstorms. So there's kind of this contrasting tension between the boredom of a long, hot day where even just going out to do things can be a little overwhelming, with the kind of looming sense of violence of the thunderstorm. Because they're not, they're definitely not small thunderstorms that are going to roll through. These are the like summer storms that can cause serious damage in certain places. So the way that it kind of conveys that sense of calm and action and childhood and growing up, and I guess it also class antagonism, because the characters in the book are all the kind of the locals who are regularly mentioned to be house cleaners for the foreign tourists and the people who own the nice homes further down the mountain and on the beach. And yeah, there's a certain kind of tension and action between the two that seems to be continuously forming as the book moves forward. The dog days of summer are also regularly equated to a sense of bad luck. Doing something at that time can often, in a folk sense, be associated with things going poorly or things taking an unexpected turn. And now you can make whatever you want out of the concept of luck, whether you believe in it or not. I'm not here to tell you about that, but there is something about those kind of long shadow, big sun, storm on the horizon, barometric pressure days that can kind of make you feel like the earth itself is against you. That's probably, is that really what's happening? I don't think so, but I can't take that away from you. It's an interesting kind of process that we undertake of externalizing meaning and ascribing a feeling, an attribute, an attitude, a sense to the world around us, whether or not it's there. The way that we're all kind of stuck in this interconnected milieu of the world. You have to navigate that with its ups and downs. You have to live your life through that contrasting, through the tension, through the opposing states, the opposing symbolisms of, a clear day and a dog day of summer. So yeah, I'd say so far it's pretty good. I am fascinated by movement. As I walk down these streets, the buildings retain the same coordinates, and yet somehow they are presented to me as changed. An infinite set of subtle perspectives flow from one to the next. Data being sent to me in the form of light, once cast under the reactions of the sun, now embedded in my ocular nerve. However good those are. A complete line of accountability could, in theory, be drafted of how I am seeing this exact image of these buildings. A line both unbroken and impossible to unify. We often think of ourselves as discrete individuals about in a world, but the very fact of seeing does, or I would argue ought, to make that assumption seem thin. Me, the building, the light, almost work in some sort of unspoken tandem for a single sight to occur. That I am often discussing different details or asking questions about architectural design choices is already a register higher than the wondrousness of what is happening here.
Lately, things have been off. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy with the move, but the myriad other things still gnaw at my awareness. Slowly but surely, I will quench the many smoldering embers, but until then, they will persist. The real issue, the real point of rotation, is the desire to be happy while unfulfilled. Faced with the end of the day, I still feel like I could have done more. And looking back, I wonder if I've always felt that way. It's an elusive beast, joy. It rears its head as a kind of chimera, conjoined with time and regret. Can we find peace in a world of finite time? Can we live under the gaze of such a chimera? If so, how? That must be the task of being. A non-teleological goal. Something never attained because it's not a state of being, but rather a process forever enacted. When I was younger, I wanted to travel. I haven't left the country in over a decade. I don't even have a passport right now. I know it's not too late, but it would mean closing some other door in a long hallway of already closed doors, or missed opportunities and paths not taken. Time is the great millstone of life, and we are all grains of wheat. I love making things, but I am bad at starting. I always have been. Or at least that's what I say to myself. Once I'm in the thick of the creative process, I'm fully locked in and loving it. But all the other small tasks leading up to getting started feel insurmountable. I need to practice the expression of my will. I need to create a path that allows for an ease in starting, but friction in creation. The whiplash, or contradictory tension, or whatever it might be, I don't really have the right words for it, that exist in creation, in being, and not just being alive, but really being, is something I may never understand. Finding a smooth path of entrance into a raging river is never easy. Perhaps there are no starting points, only diverging lines that temporarily converge before splitting off again. That beast called joy will haunt me for 10,000 days, and then 10,000 more.